If Gorbachev helps you in Central America, specifically Nicaragua, are you willing to help him economically?
Look, the more cooperation we can get on regional objectives, our regional objectives, in this instance the democratization of Central America, the more help we can get towards that end by the Soviets with pulling back their large amount of military support, the better it would be between relations. So there is linkage, but when it gets to the specifics of what I'll be willing to do, that'll will come out under this whole policy review. But we are not going to back away from agenda items, including regional tensions. And when something good happens, give some credit. When Soviets come out of Afghanistan, which happened here not so long ago, give them credit for that. When you get lightening up a little bit on the question of Soviet Jews or something of that nature, give some credit. So there is don't know exactly how to help you in terms of how much linkage there is, but there's clearly got to be some linkage.
Sir, you've been getting the cables back from Vienna from Secretary of State Baker. He's been meeting with Foreign Minister Shevardnadze. Is Shevardnadze saying anything encouraging along this line?
Well, I hadn't seen the overnight cable from Baker reporting on that meeting, so I can't comment. I read some reports of what Shevardnadze said in terms of conventional forces, and it looks to me like he's moving towards the oft-stated public position of NATO in this regard. And that is good, where it's not a question of numbers you take out, it's a question of numbers that are left when you finish taking troops out. So I think there's been some encouraging, but I have not yet seen the Baker report, and I haven't talked to him since his visit. Yeah.
President,
Yeah.
non-military aid to the Contras will run out at the end of the month. Do you plan to propose new aid to the Contras and some package of carrots and sticks for the Sandinistas?
Well, I hope there are some. I hope there is some understanding on the Hill that these people must not be left without humanitarian aid, and we have already, through the Secretary of State before he left, pointed out that that was my inclination, was to strongly support the appeal for humanitarian aid. We simply cannot, and I will not, leave the Contras out there with no humanitarian aid at all, ability to stay alive at this juncture.
Will the package include some promise of renewed military aid, depending on the Sandinistas' behavior at this point?
We are talking, as I think the Secretary said the other day, about how best to move the process of democratization forward. And a very interesting talk with Mr. Cerezo on that. And I'm hopeful that before the 90-day period is up, on the president's coming out, that we can get some very clear statements. But in terms of humanitarian aid, I don't think there'll be much resistance to that at all. Yeah.
Mr. President, on another regional question, Yasser Arafat has refused to criticize any of the raids within Israel that have been carried out. Is he backing down on his promise against terrorism?
I hope not, and I'd like to see him forthrightly condemn any terror that might be perpetrated by the Palestinians. I stop short of saying he's condoning it or that he is furthering it. I'm not saying that, but I'd like to see him speak out. It would do wonders. It would be very good for future dialogue. Yeah, Jerry.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask you about one of the facts that you cited in your list.
Yeah.
You said the budget that you sent to the Hill has more detail than the budgets of the last two administrations. I'm a little confused about that. What are you referring to, since yours did not list any of the domestic...
More detail has been sent to the Hill at this time in our administration, let me clarify that, than at any time for either the Reagan administration, 1981, or the Carter administration in 77. They hadn't gone up with near this amount of detail to the Hill. And we have a document that we should pass out to you because it is quite important that this be understood. One more.
Mr. President, you've
Maybe two. Divide. Two more. 1, 2. Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
You've heard the commentaries and read the articles about the, as been described here, the foundering and the lack of ideas of the administration. I'm wondering what your reading is on the motivation for all of this at this point in the administration.
The motivation for these groundless stories? Let me see what it would be.
Coming from Republicans and Democrats.
Well, who are some of the sources? Help me, and then I can give you the motivation. Give me 2 Democratic sources and 2 Republicans that have said this, and then let me try to Ted Kennedy? Enough said.
You had David Gergen's commentary.
And you have him down as an objective journalist or a Republican?
Maybe both.
Republican? Well, I think he's wrong.
But what do you think the motivation is coming at this particular point?
Look,
early in the
told you what I think. Go back and look at history. It kind of goes in cycles. But I'm not deterred at all. And I've seen them, and I've seen some of the things that are cited in the stories as evidence of this, and I just disagree with the facts. So keep on doing your job. That's my answer.
Sir, one more crack at the hitting the ground crawling concept here.
I read that. Sorry about that.